Maybe you woke up today with a strange silence in your chest. It's not exactly sadness, but it's not peace either. It feels like something stuck between what has already passed and what hasn't arrived yet. And before the day truly begins, before the voices, the noise, the deadlines, I want to invite you into something deeper, a moment to hear God's voice, not with your ears, but with your heart. Because He has something to say to you right now. This is one of those mornings when heaven leans down to your soul just to remind you, you are not alone. Breathe slowly, let go of what's been weighing on you, and allow God to fill your morning with meaning. As you listen to this prayer, write in the comments the name of someone who also needs to wake up with direction. Do it with a spirit of surrender. Sometimes the body wakes up, but the soul keeps sleeping in the memories. All it takes is a smell, a song, a name, and suddenly we're not here anymore. We're back there. Back in that home, that season, that joy, or that wound that still echoes. And without realizing it, the heart begins to live more in what was than in what is. But God doesn't dwell in your past. He is the one who makes all things new, including you. The problem is that we fear the new. We choose what's familiar, even when it hurts, even when it keeps us stuck. But there's a quiet calling from heaven this morning. Don't look back. What's behind you already served its purpose. What's ahead carries the purpose you've been praying for. As you listen, gently close your eyes and imagine your soul being washed by a soft and steady light. God is disconnecting you from what only repeats pain and connecting you to what brings life. Do you feel it? That lightness touching your breath. That's the Spirit whispering, I am making your heart new. If you want this presence to meet you every morning, subscribe now, not out of routine but as an act of surrender. And if someone you love needs to let go of the past and begin again, write their name in the comments. The journey is only beginning. In the next part of this prayer, something even deeper is about to happen. There is something deeply human about returning, about revisiting old places in our thoughts and retracing the paths where we once felt whole. We walk those invisible corridors in our mind not always because they were perfect, but because they were familiar. And familiarity has a strange way of comforting us, especially when the present feels uncertain. But not everything familiar is holy. Not every past moment was meant to be revisited. There are seasons God led us out of, not to punish us, but to prepare us for what's ahead. And sometimes looking back is not just remembering, it's resisting the very transformation we asked God for. That is where the danger quietly lies. Not in the memory itself, but in the way we begin to idolize what was, refusing to let God shape what is. There is a sobering moment in the story of Lot's wife. As judgment fell on the city of Sodom, the angels of the Lord gave a clear command. Do not look back. It wasn't about geography. It was about posture. God was calling them out, calling them forward, inviting them into something that would require trust. But as they fled, Lot's wife paused. She looked behind her, and in that glance her story was sealed. It's easy to think it was a mere glance, but the truth is, it was more than eyes turning. It was her heart refusing. She hadn't left the city, not truly. She had walked out physically, but emotionally she was still there. Still tied, still tangled, still believing that maybe, just maybe, what she had left behind was better than where God was leading her. How often do we do the same? We say with our mouths that we're ready to move forward. We sing songs of surrender and pray prayers of new beginnings. But when life gets uncomfortable, when faith gets tested, we start to entertain the idea of going back to the relationship God told us to release, back to the habits we thought we laid down, back to the mindset that kept us small. And without even meaning to, we begin turning our spiritual gaze behind us. And slowly, the present loses its weight, the future loses its beauty, and God's promises lose their clarity, not because they've changed, but because we're no longer looking in the right direction. Today, I want to ask you gently, what are you still holding on to that God already called you out of? What piece of your past are you still romanticizing, even though you know it came with chains? The truth is, you can't walk into freedom while dragging what bound you. Let this be the morning where you shift your eyes forward again. Whisper this into your soul. God, I don't want to just walk out. I want to walk free. And while you pause here, consider letting these prayers be your daily rhythm, a quiet way to reset your mornings. You can subscribe if you feel led, and more than that, comment the name of someone you want to see walking in full freedom too. because the journey forward always begins with letting go. There is a subtle shift that happens in the heart when nostalgia crosses the line from gratitude into grief. We begin by remembering the past with thankfulness, but slowly, without noticing, we start to believe that those days were the best we will ever live. We think of the laughter, the comfort, the sense of being needed or known, and something in us whispers, that was it. That was the real joy. That was when you were truly alive. It's a quiet deception, so gentle it sounds like truth. But it's not. Because God is not the God of used to be. He is the I am. He is the now, the present, the one who meets you in this moment, not to drag you backward, but to draw you into something sacred and new. Ecclesiastes 7:10 tells us plainly, "Do not say, 'Why were the old days better than these?' For it is not wise to ask such questions." This is not a call to forget. It's a call to perspective. The past was real, yes, but it was also incomplete. We tend to remember the sweetness and forget the struggle. We replay the comfort and mute the conflict. That's what makes nostalgia so dangerous. It edits reality, and in doing so, it dishonors the present. It makes today feel like a shadow, when in truth, today is the space where God is working, breathing, building. The miracle is not in yesterday's story. The miracle is in what He's doing now, underneath the surface, behind the scenes, in places you cannot yet see. You may feel like the best part of your life has already happened, but let me ask you, who told you that? Was it the Spirit of God? Or was it the voice of disappointment, regret, fear? Because if God still has you breathing, then He still has you becoming. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. You are not a supporting character in someone else's miracle. You are being shaped, prepared, refined for something that requires this exact moment in time. Not 5 years ago, not who you used to be, but you now, the one who has walked through fire, the one who carries both scars and stories, the one who has been broken and rebuilt by mercy itself. And if you've been finding these words stirring something deeper inside of you, maybe it's time to let them walk with you daily. You can gently subscribe and let each new morning begin with light instead of weight. And while you reflect on the truth of today's calling, think of someone who's still clinging to their own version of the past. Leave their name in the comments. Pray over them as you pray over yourself, because God is not finished, and the next breath might just hold the beginning of everything new. There's a quiet misunderstanding many carry into their walk with God. This idea that He is most present in the parts of life that felt easier, lighter, or more full of joy. We look back on old seasons where the doors opened effortlessly, where relationships felt whole, where our dreams were untouched by disappointment, and we think, surely God was more near then. But this is not the voice of truth. This is the voice of emotion, tinted by memory and loss. The truth is, God never abandons His children. He is not a presence of the past. He is not the God of what was. He is the God of what is and what is to come. Even when your circumstances changed, He didn't leave. Even when the light dimmed and the road narrowed, He remained the same. So many of us unknowingly build altars in the places we once felt alive, hoping that by holding on to those memories, we might rekindle the fire. But God doesn't anoint our nostalgia. He anoints our now. He speaks in the wilderness. He moves in the mundane. He breathes in the places we think are too dry for growth. The problem isn't that He's stopped moving. The problem is we've kept looking in the wrong direction. We seek Him in what once was instead of seeking Him in what He's doing now. But Isaiah 43 says clearly, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" That question, "Do you not perceive it?" is an invitation to reawaken your spiritual vision. Because what God is doing next may not look like what He did before, but it is no less sacred. And sometimes, the discomfort you're feeling is not a sign that something's wrong. It's the stretching of your soul. It's the preparation of your heart. It's the shedding of layers that no longer fit the new you God is raising up. So resist the urge to shrink back. Resist the lie that the best has passed. God is in your present, actively working. He is in your future, already preparing. He is the one who redeems and rebuilds, not according to your timeline, but according to His wisdom. And the you that is being shaped today will one day be the miracle someone else looks back on. Trust that. If this resonates in your spirit, let these prayers be your compass each morning. Consider subscribing quietly, not for information, but for transformation. And if you feel led, comment with the name of someone whose heart needs to awaken to the presence of God in the present moment, because He is not finished, and this morning is still unfolding in grace. There comes a moment in every believer's life when looking back no longer serves growth, a moment where the weight of the past becomes too heavy to carry into the future God is unfolding. We begin to sense that what once fit now feels tight, that what once comforted now confines, and the voice of God, gentle yet firm, begins to call us not just out of something, but into something deeper, into healing, into identity, into wholeness. But this calling will cost us our attachment to what was, because you cannot run forward while still gripping the ghosts of yesterday. You cannot stretch toward promise while your arms are wrapped around regret. Freedom, real freedom, requires release. Jesus spoke with piercing clarity in Luke 9:62 when He said, "No one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." These words are not condemnation, they are calibration. He is saying, if you're going to walk with me, you have to walk with your eyes forward. You have to let the past be the past. You have to trust that what I have ahead of you is more worthy of your attention than what's behind you. And that kind of trust, it's not passive, it's a daily choice, a daily surrender, a daily pulling up of the anchor that tries to keep you docked in an old place when God is calling you to deeper waters. Even now, you might be feeling the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. You might be battling old thoughts, old habits, old fears that whisper, "You're not really new, you'll never truly change." But hear this, those voices do not speak for your future. God does, and His word says you are a new creation. His mercy says you are not your mistakes. His grace says you are not defined by who you were, but by who He is in you now. And that means the door to the past is not only closed, it's sealed. What happened there may have shaped you, but it cannot hold you anymore. Not unless you let it. So take a deep breath this morning and say softly, "I will not live in reverse." Speak it over your home. Speak it over your mind. Speak it over the plans God is birthing through your obedience. Because every time you choose forward, you choose freedom. And if these truths are becoming part of your healing rhythm, consider subscribing now so that these morning moments keep lighting your path. And if you're thinking of someone who's still caught between yesterday and tomorrow, write their name in the comments. Let's believe together that God is doing something new, and it begins by facing forward. One of the hardest truths to embrace is that growth sometimes means grieving who we used to be. There is a quiet death that occurs when we step into the new, an ending of patterns, personalities, and postures that once defined us. Not all of it was bad. Some of it helped us survive. Some of it made us feel strong, secure, known. But just because it served us once doesn't mean it still belongs. God in His mercy doesn't only remove what's destructive, He also removes what's expired. And sometimes that includes the version of ourselves we were most comfortable being. So when He starts shifting things, stretching us, redefining us, it can feel like loss. But in reality, it's love. A love that refuses to leave us small when He sees something greater rising inside. Many of us carry a shadow version of ourselves that we revisit when life feels unstable. We fall back into old habits, not because we love them, but because they are familiar. We revert to old fears because they feel safer than the unknown. We hear the old voices, "You're not enough, you always mess this up, you'll never change." And even though we know they are lies, we still let them speak. But God is calling us to silence the voice of the past with the voice of His truth. He is calling us to live not out of memory, but out of revelation. The revelation that we are not who we were, that the cross didn't just forgive us, it transformed us. That grace didn't just clean us up, it redefined our identity. So if you've been walking through this season feeling torn between your past identity and your present calling, let this morning be a turning point. You are not bound to who you used to be. You are not held hostage by your history. You are becoming right now in real time. And that process is holy. It's messy, yes, it's sometimes unclear, but it is sacred, because God is the one holding the pen. And the story He's writing does not include chapters of shame, only grace, growth, and glory. If this resonates with what your soul has been wrestling through, consider making these moments a part of your morning rhythm. Subscribing is not just a click, it's a quiet commitment to letting God speak into your new beginning each day. And while you're here, name someone in the comments who's been stuck in their old self-image. Let's believe together that they too can be set free. Because when God makes you new, there's no version of your past that can compete with the future He's designed. There are ties we carry that are not visible to the eye, silent connections to our former life, to wounds we never fully released, to identities we never quite outgrew. And even as we walk in new spaces, speak new words, pray new prayers, those invisible threads still tug at us. They surface in our reactions, in our doubts, in the quiet voice that says, maybe you haven't really changed. They're not always obvious. They can be hidden in how we respond to love, in how we fear abandonment, in how we sabotage good things, because deep down, we don't feel worthy of them. And unless we allow God to sever those spiritual ties, we end up reliving patterns we were never meant to repeat. There's a part of every spiritual journey where God does more than invite us forward. He invites us to be cut free. Free from thought patterns that echo old wounds. Free from emotional attachments that keep dragging our spirit into places it no longer belongs. Free from habits that wear the disguise of comfort but carry the weight of bondage. And this cutting is not cruel, it's mercy. Because we cannot walk in the fullness of our new name while still answering to the labels of our old life. We cannot taste the freedom of Christ and keep dining at the table of the familiar, where shame, guilt, and fear still speak. You are not just walking away from sin, you are walking toward wholeness. And that journey requires intention. Let this morning be one of those moments. A holy reckoning between who you've been and who you are called to become. Ask God now with humility and honesty to reveal the ties that still hold you. Lord, show me the attachments I haven't noticed. Show me the thoughts I've agreed with for too long. Show me the places I'm still looking for validation outside of you. These are not light questions, they are prayers of surrender, but they open doors to a kind of healing you can't access through effort alone. They make space for the Spirit to go deep, to pull out the roots of old lies and to replant you in truth that sets you free. And if these words are untying something inside of you, don't let this be the last time you allow truth to speak over your soul. Subscribe now, not for routine but for revelation. Let this be the beginning of mornings that start with clarity, not confusion. And as you reflect, write the name of someone who's still tethered to an old identity. Because today you're not just moving forward, you're breaking free. And what God unbinds, no past can reclaim. So much of what God builds in us happens in silence. Not in the dramatic moments, not in the breakthroughs we celebrate out loud, but in the slow, steady rhythm of ordinary days. The ones where we don't feel particularly holy, where prayer feels dry, where faith feels like a quiet decision rather than a fiery declaration. These are the days when becoming new feels the most invisible. But do not mistake invisibility for inactivity. Just because you can't see the roots growing doesn't mean the seed isn't alive. God does His most sacred work in hidden places. The deep soil of your obedience, your surrender, your everyday faithfulness, that's where He builds the foundation for the next miracle. We live in a culture that glorifies visible results. We want to feel different, act different, see transformation as something immediate and measurable. But God is not interested in surface-level change. He's interested in the kind of transformation that lasts, the kind that rewires how we think, how we love, how we trust. And that kind of change takes time. It takes ordinary days strung together in quiet devotion. It takes you choosing not to go back, not because you feel strong, but because you know where your strength comes from. It takes you waking up and saying again, God, even in this, I choose to follow you. Don't underestimate what God is doing in this season of your life. Even if it feels slow, even if it looks like nothing is happening. The old you would have given up by now. The old you would have turned back. But here you are, still seeking, still listening, still letting the Spirit shape you in ways you don't fully understand. That is growth. That is breakthrough. That is the evidence that you are not who you were. God is crafting you into someone who can carry the weight of what's coming next. And He's doing it with grace, with gentleness, and with intentionality. Even in the waiting, He is not wasting a single moment. If these words are helping you see the sacred in your everyday, let them return to you each morning. You can subscribe now, not for routine's sake, but because you're hungry to start each day grounded in truth. And if someone in your life is struggling to believe that the ordinary can still be holy, write their name in the comments. Speak life over their process, because God is always working, even when it's quiet, even when it's slow, even when it's unseen. You are becoming new, and nothing about that is small. This is where the shift happens, not with a flash of light or a dramatic encounter, but with a decision. A quiet, deliberate choice to walk in the newness that God has already declared over you. Not just once, not just on a mountaintop moment, but every single day. Because transformation isn't a one-time experience. It's a daily surrender, a daily alignment, a daily agreement with the truth that who you used to be is no longer who you are becoming. That the cross wasn't just the end of your past, it was the beginning of your becoming. And every step forward is an act of faith in the one who calls you not by your failures, but by your future. God never said the new thing would come easily, but he did promise it would come. He said in Isaiah 43, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it?" That question is a challenge. Can you see it? Will you choose to believe it even before it's visible? Will you walk like the new creation you already are, even when the old voices still whisper? Because the greatest act of faith you can offer today may not be in doing something big, but in continuing. In choosing again to walk differently, to speak differently, to think with a renewed mind, to feel with a softened heart, to live not as a prisoner of the past, but as a vessel of what's to come. And as you walk, you will stumble, you will question. You will have days where you forget who you are, but the mercy of God is relentless. It does not leave you where it found you. It picks you up, dresses your wounds, and reminds you again, you are chosen, you are free. You are not defined by what you did or what you lost. You are defined by the one who calls you his. And with every step you take into this new way of living, something holy is built within you. Strength, patience, wisdom, compassion, the kind of fruit that only grows through trust. And over time, that newness becomes not just something you believe in, but something you carry. So take one more moment now. Let these words settle into your soul. Whisper in faith, "I leave the past at the foot of the cross. I walk forward in the freedom you purchased for me." Say it until it feels true. Say it until it becomes your posture. Say it until you're no longer afraid to become the person God already sees. And if this prayer has echoed your heart, let these words continue to meet you every morning. You can subscribe, not out of routine, but out of reverence for what God is building day by day. And if you're praying for someone else to embrace this newness, leave their name in the comments. Let this be the day where a new chapter quietly, boldly begins. The best is not behind you. The best is being written now.